ready for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Just watch me breaking. You'll swear you're falling into me. Touch me. I swear you would do anything.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unscripted. Joining me today is Dee Bowden, and before we actually speak with her, I want to give you a little bit of thought, right? Have you ever actually had a time where you, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, you've tried to collect your cash, you've tried to get your money back for services that were either provided? We've all heard situations or stories about people going into collections. Well, this one is a little bit different, because if you are an entrepreneur, especially, or a major corporation, and you know that you're invoiced 30 days out, those of us who've been in payroll or collections, we understand that terminology, but I'm not going to go into that right this moment. But I do want to introduce you to an amazing person in which I met 2 years ago, who has done major things, has been in Forbes magazine, has spoken all across the country, and has collected over $7.5 million for major corporations. And the way that she's done that is by doing customer service. So I want to go ahead and welcome Ms. Dee Bowden. What's going on, girl?
Good afternoon, Coach Shay. As I like to say, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are listening to this fabulous conversation around the world. I am Dee Bowden. I'm the founder and CEO of BCS Solutions. It is an honor to be here today to talk to your audience about all things collect the cash.
Wow. Let me tell you, people don't even think about that, right? Because most businesses, you pay for the product first and then you get it. But there are a lot of businesses, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and I really want to speak to those people, because there are times where you can provide a service and now you're on the waiting game, especially if you're doing invoicing, where you're waiting out 30 days, you're invoicing your 60 days, your 90 days.
Yep.
And you ain't getting paid, which means if you ain't getting paid, ain't no money going into your pocket.
Not a dime. And see, and that's my specialty. Because most people are like, why in the world? But you know, in depending upon your industry, like if you deal with government agencies, some of them is definitely 30 days out, 60 days out. If you're in software or IT or telecom or supply chain management, oh, absolutely, you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and sometimes longer. And if you don't plan for that, you'd be like, what had happened was, that part.
Right. You in the wake of COVID, right?
Say it again.
Think about in the wake of COVID, when COVID first hit.
Yeah.
And everything shut down.
Yeah.
People were waiting on that money to come in, and people were waiting on that next check to come in. And so what would happen is, if I was a business in which, see, for me, I get my coin up front.
Right.
On most things I get my coin up front. But for the person like you said, a person who does wholesaling, you know, and they're shipping their products out all across, and they're waiting for that invoice to cycle through, where they're waiting on that money to come back in, and then they don't get it, and then they're trying to call and harassing, and that's why we see all of the court cases going on TV, Judge Judy and all of this other stuff. They're trying to get their money back.
Exactly.
It's kind of beneficial for them to kind of step aside and hire somebody like you, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. And here's the thing. I mean, I'm so glad you have. First of all, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because this part isn't super sexy, but it's so necessary.
And if you're sexy to get your money.
Well, I mean, I think it's very sexy, because that's my lane. But you know, for the people that are in the back, they'll be like, this ain't sexy. But listen, you like your coins. It's very sexy.
It really is. That dollar sign.
Girl, listen, that dollar sign, that dollar sign will do some things for you.
Okay, look.
But seriously, and I'm glad you're talking about it, because a lot of people who are listening may come from corporate like me, or come from government agencies like me, and they're like, I didn't even realize that as I scale, I will eventually be in that pocket where I have to do 30 days, 60 days, 90 days out. And so my whole career and my whole business is focused on those things, but it's all the lessons I've learned along the way. And I also feel like this. It's like, yeah, so there's two types of collections. There's consumer collections, which is what most people think about. They think about the people that harass you for your medical bill, your cable bill, your phone bill. Those people are off the hook. And but there's good and bad in all of them. But you have to understand, they're after their money just like you're after your money. But here's the thing. There's a way you can do it, whether you're doing consumer collections or business to business collections, which doesn't involve the harassing and the dialing for dollars. Because what most people don't understand is this: collections is business to business collections, which is my lane, is three things. Number one, it's problem solving. It's kind of it's one of these. It's the what had happened was to my money.
What had happened was
because here's the thing: everybody has one of those what had happened was stories. I don't care where you are in the world. You have one of those when if you were buying a new phone, if you took your car to the dealership and they put it up on the lift, you're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be just getting an oil change. Nope, we done found this wrong. So what had happened was what you thought was going to be a $50 charge, now it was several $100s because now there's this problem. Well, in the same vein, when you're talking about invoices that are 30 days, and see, my sweet spot is 60 days and 90 days out. That's a whole lot of what had happened was because normally when you're at the 60-day mark or the 90-day mark of not getting paid, there's usually a problem. And so I determined that collections, business to business collections, is problem solving. Because if you're looking at your accounts and you're saying, okay, I'm 60 days past due, the first question you want to ask is why? Why haven't they paid me in 60 days? What happened with the contract? Did you deliver? Did you, for example, if I bought 10 sets of sneakers and I only got 8, I'm not paying you for all 10 because I don't have 10. I got 8.
Right.
The reason you're not getting paid for all your sneakers because you still owe me 2 sets. So settle up with me, give me my 2 sets of sneakers. I'll make you whole. So problem solving, an extension of customer service. We just came out of the holiday season. If you received a card from anybody that you've ever done business with, and normally saying this, oh, happy holiday season's greetings. We want to thank you for being a customer of blah, 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 blah. And we hope that you've had a great experience with us. And then number 2, coming into the new year, we want to renew our service with you, make sure you're happy, yada, yada, yada. That is customer service. So because I have had to build relationships with vendors and pay officers and all that things, I've learned that customer service is to me it's an extension of collections, because if I'm calling you to collect my money, I need to find out what's the problem, number 1. Number 2, I'm a business owner. I want to find out what's the disconnect. How come you didn't pay me? And give me a chance to fix it if I can. But also it's an extension of customer service, because if you think about it, when I'm ordering something and I need to get paid, I want you to take care of me and make sure I get all of my things. So I learned by doing what I do for government agencies and corporations and other companies, that if I'm on the phone and I'm building a relationship with the person who took my phone call, who researched my invoice, who actually said, oh, Dee, guess what? The reason why you haven't got paid is you used the wrong contract number. What? Okay. Now I need to go fix that so I can resubmit it so you will actually pay me. I see you shaking your head. It must be making sense. So come on.
The funny thing is, I guess because I've done payroll, I understand that invoicing, and I've done it for a big payroll company. So I definitely understand the invoicing process, right? So anybody really, your client is anyone who understands that process. You're not for the everyday entrepreneur like myself, or you're for someone who's a little bit bigger, like manufacturing type of things. Anyone who's sending out an invoice and then waiting on payment to come in. So let's be very clear very early on.
Yep.
If you are the everyday Joe Blow entrepreneur, Dee Bowden is not for you per se. However, there are tips that she's going to be able to provide to you throughout this podcast that's going to ensure that you don't end up with somebody owing you money, right? And you actually have a book as well. So I also want to go into your book. But let's really talk to your clientele. So what is it? Let's say I'm that big business. I'm that corporation, and I've invoiced 100 people, and I'm owed money from 30 of them. I come to you. What does that process look like?
So what that looks like is we're like, Good afternoon, Shay. I'm Dee. How are you? Great. How are you? You're telling me you have how many? The first question I'm going to ask you is how many accounts do you have? And you're going to say, Dee, I've got my accounts receivable aging, and I have got accounts that are 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 days past due. So first thing I'm going to ask you is, okay, you have all that. Number one, where are your notes? Because we're going to start with your notes because I need to know what happened with the last transaction. Number two, do you have copies of all of your agreements? Because if they haven't paid you, there's usually something that's gone wrong in the transaction. So I need to find out about your agreements. Number three, what did you promise them, and then what happened? Because usually it's usually like this. It usually goes: you have a sales conversation, a contract, a product, a service, a deliverable, an invoice. Last lane, me, collections. That's the part. That's literally for every business. Even the people, and I wanted to say something to the people who may say, well, I'm not a large corporation, but here's the thing. Right. You have the same transaction I just described. You sell something. If you're smart, you're going to have an agreement. You're going to have something. You have a document between you and your other party. Number three, you're going to identify, what are you selling? Are you selling sneakers? You're selling hair? I don't care what you're selling. You need to track what you're selling. Number four, you're going to invoice them. And then you're gonna deliver your product. You're gonna invoice them. You're gonna hopefully collect your money. And so, if you don't follow that process, even if you're a person who gets your coins, as Shay said up front, here's the thing: if you get your coins up front and there's a problem with getting your coins, number one, you can get on the phone and say, "Hi, I'm Dee, and you know what? Your payment didn't go through. So that's you know what? My credit card. I need to make a payment. This is the easy thing. I need to make a payment on my credit card. Can I have 24 hours or 48 hours?" Let me pay my credit card, then you can swipe the card and I can pay. One. Number two, you can go through PayPal. Number three, you can go through Cash App. That's not those are easy fixes.
I'm not your customer, right?
You're not my customer.
But you're also still teaching me though, because you're also still talking about the agreement side of it. So even as a smaller entrepreneur who's maybe not, or as an entrepreneur that gets their money up front, right? Like just like you go into a store is not going to invoice you at Walmart when you get your groceries. But it's still good to also keep track of, make sure you have an agreement.
Right.
Have that contract, have it written out. And what else?
Oh, and here's the thing. You just brought up a great point. I normally tell this in my story, but since I haven't done my story yet, but I'll tell this part now. So one of the things when you are in business, you're waiting for, if you're a transactional business, you're waiting for these two magical words when you swipe your debit card. It's called transaction approved. That's the same thing
Right.
That's the same thing as in my lane, the sale is complete and the money's in the bank.
Right. Absolutely. That's awesome. So what else would you tell that entrepreneur who maybe doesn't do the invoicing? What tips can we go ahead and get to them before we really talk back to your customer, who your customer really is? All
right. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're just getting started, I believe that you need to track I believe you need to track every account that you have, whether it's one account or many. So here's the simple thing. Number one, what's the name of your customer? You want to learn from your very first customer. If you set this up correctly, as you scale and as you grow, you'll know how many customers you have. So the first thing we'll talk about is what's called the tracking system. So first column is the name of your customer. The second column is what's the contract number, if you have one. It could be contract number 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter. Third column, what is it that you sold to them? What are they buying from you? Sneakers, hair, doesn't matter. What is that? Fourth column, when are you supposed to deliver it to them? Fifth, when are you supposed to invoice them, bill them for it? And six, when are you supposed to get paid? And then seven, notes. So if something goes wrong anywhere in that thing, so they say the contract name of your contractor is, name of your vendor, your customer is this. Okay, the contract number is blah blah blah. Okay, and then the amount of, I forgot something. The amount of the contract, let's say it's $5,000. How much is it for? What's the next item? What are they buying from you? And then when are you supposed to deliver it to them? Number six, when are you supposed to invoice them? And then number seven, when are you supposed to get paid? And then 8 is notes. And notes is to keep track of what happened along the thing. So if for example, you ordered 10 sneakers and you only delivered 8, obviously they're not going to pay you for 10 sneakers because you didn't give them 10. You got to give them 8. But if you learn to track what happened with that whole process and keep your notes, when something goes wrong, you can go back to your notes and you realize, oh yeah, I was supposed to give them 10. I only gave them 8. And then as a part of customer service, you acknowledge that you're short and then you're working to fix that. So when I talk about collections being problem solving, number one, an extension of customer service, number two, and my secret sauce, which is gratitude, which I haven't talked about yet. But that's the part. People are like, gratitude. What are you talking about gratitude? Well, here's the thing. Here's what I know. This is personal. I know that in business, you do business with people, even though it's the name of the company, but the company is a person or persons.
Right.
And when you're having to collect your money, just like when you're having to do your sale, if you go back and say thank you to the person who makes sure you get paid, you'd be surprised at what that does. What that does, number one, it separates you from everybody else, because most people just get their money and they're gone. But when you come back and you say thank you for taking my call, for researching my invoice, for making sure that I actually got my payment because my payment was lost or data entry ever happened or whatever. And then you come back and tell the person, thank you. Do you have any idea what it's like to be that person, that somebody who thinks that they're low on the totem pole, but you see them and you acknowledge them? That's the secret sauce. That's what I've been doing.
That's awesome, because honestly, it is very true. Like when I did customer service or even in payroll and there was a problem and that person, you don't know what they're doing on the other end to make sure that you get your money. So it is. And if you're not that kind of person, you want to hire somebody like Dee. If you're that type of company, or you feel like I need to get this money back and I need to figure out a way to do it, but I know that I don't have that personality, hire somebody on the outside who does represent your company, because they're trying to get your money back for you, right? Wouldn't that be like a smart alternative for somebody?
Oh, absolutely. And because here's the thing, whatever your business is, you started your business to do two things. Number one, to solve a problem in the marketplace, and number two, to make a difference. But your lane of brilliance might be whatever you're the practitioner of. So if you're really good at making widgets, okay, you make widgets all day. But when it comes to having to ask people to ask for the money, you're like, man, I'd rather go to the dentist and have a root canal than have to go ask somebody for this money.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay. So then someone like me who has BCS Solutions, we come alongside and we partner with you, because number one, I understand the whole thing about customer service and building relationships. That's what I said in my thing. I said that my three things, what separates me from everybody else who does business to business collections, is I identify collections as problem solving. Number two is the extension of customer service. And number three, my secret sauce is gratitude. People keep saying, you keep talking about this gratitude thing. Well, I'm telling you personally that it works. And it works. And it works. And so you're like, well, how does it work? You say thank you.
please and thank you. You know, the things that
I'm two of the things you learn. If whoever raised you, your mom, your grandmother, big mama, Medea, whoever raised you, they taught you two things: please and thank you. And you're like, are you serious? Well, as a matter of fact, I just shared a little while ago. I said during the holiday season, most companies were sending out thank you cards to their customers. Why? Because they want to continue the relationship. That's a part of customer service.
Right. And not only that, you're keeping them in the forefront of their memory.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So it's like the next time I think I want to buy a car, oh, well, let me see. I used to get a call every month. All of that call may have been annoying. That call, in a sense, kept them in the forefront of my mind. So if I want to go buy a car, now I'm like, oh, let me go back to them. Because not only did they sell me a reliable car the first time, I got the phone calls to make sure that I was still happy with my purchase. So customer service definitely does really go a long way. And the first time I spoke with you 2 years ago, you said that people come up under you to kind of learn how to collect their money outside of the secret sauce that you have going and outside of the problem solving that you do. Why else would somebody really come in and hire you? And how often is your turnaround time with getting their money?
So a company would hire me when they've got a team of collectors and the CFO or the comptroller is looking at their accounts and they're saying, okay, I have this team of people that seem to not being able to be effective. And I don't know why. We've had these short roundtable discussions and it's not working. And all I'm looking at is I'm the CFO. I'm looking at the accounts. I'm looking at the money and we have a problem. So you would hire someone like me to come in and talk to the team because you as a CFO, you're looking at it from the 10,000 foot level. You just want to know, I just need the cash and the money. I need to make payroll, handle marketing, whatever. You're not going to go talk to the person that's on the front line who's actually doing the work, because number one, you feel you're making the assumption that they are well skilled in collection, number one. Number two, and collecting with this industry. I'll give you a story. So for example, a few years ago, I worked with a small IT firm that actually had a collections team. The CFO hired me and said, listen, I need you to come in here and work with this team because we've got 45. Matter of fact, they had $45 million. This is a true story. They had $45 million in outstanding receivables across all 5 people.
Wow.
And he was like pulling his hair out because he was like, why aren't they collecting? I don't understand. I said, okay. So I sat down with them and I had what I call affectionately a collections roundtable. What that meant literally in old school terms is pull up your chair beside me, get your coffee, your tea, and your bagel. Show me your accounts. Let's talk about why are you having challenges. One of the 5 collectors said, Dee, they gave me the government agencies to collect, and I don't even understand how to collect from them. I said, well, I'll be. That's why you're stuck, because no one ever asked you, what do you need? So sitting with him, talking to him and explaining to him, okay, the government is its own entity, just like if you deal with telecom or IT or software. Everybody's got their own lingo, their own acronyms, all of that. He didn't understand. He didn't know the first thing. So I'm like, you are floundering over here. And the CFO keeps looking at you're not making your calls. You're not making your numbers. He's going off. And it's like, no, he's not. I mean, yes, he's going off, but I understand, but you're not, he wasn't able to articulate that he was struggling. Plus, I'm sure he was probably embarrassed. I get that. Right. Who wants to sit up and go, I don't really know how to do this? Nobody. Right. I mean, let's be real, because whether you are a business owner or you're an employee, no one likes to admit when they don't know how to do stuff. And here's the thing. I don't know where it became the thing where asking the question to get the help, to get the knowledge became this shaming thing. And I was like, but I'm not shaming you, dude. Bring your chair, get your coffee, get your muffin. Let's talk. And so in 90 days, I helped them recover. I taught them how to recover, and we recovered $33 million, which is 75% of the $45 million in 90 days.
Wow. So you also go into different companies and not just do the work for them within your company, but you actually teach their collection department. So that's actually going to be key, really. So for you big corporations, or if you're someone who knows, like for me, you would have been a great person to come in and help, and do these collections as well, because if you can come in and show the person, now you've just made that company more money in a sense, because you've trained their collection person on what needs to be done. You've given them the necessary tools to be able to go out there and then just keep expounding on that. Right. You've given them a solid foundation, is what I'm pretty much saying.
Exactly. And the other thing, thank you. And the other thing with that is, one of the things I talked to them about was when I was talking earlier about the tracker. One of the things I forgot to say was this. If you're a corporation, if you have sales and collections, sales and accounts receivable, they go together. I jokingly say they date, but they go together, because it's like you can't have sales without collecting on the back end. And I teach from the collection standpoint. I teach you, especially if you have a salesperson on the front end, you need to know who's your sales rep. You need to build a relationship with him. Go have some coffee, go get some tea, go get them a bagel, go get to know them, because that person, if you're struggling to collect your money as a corporation or a medium-sized company, if you have a sales team, that salesperson needs to be part of your process. And I think that's what happened, because the salespeople are in their silo, AR is in its silo. Y'all don't talk. Well, y'all need to talk. Y'all go together. Y'all need to talk on a regular basis.
So is this all the things that you go through in your book? Because I know that you have a book called Collect the Cash.
Yes.
That is right now. They can actually go in and pre-order the book directly from your website. Yep. So talk a little bit about what's actually inside of your book.
So Collect the Cash is the journey of me working for a small, as a matter of fact, this is probably a good time to tell my story.
There you go.
Okay, so Collect the Cash is born out of my personal journey as a collector. So about 15 years ago, I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. I got hired by the collections department to come in and get my set of accounts. And they said, "Hey, Dee, welcome aboard." And you know how you welcome me into the cubicle. You're like, "Here's your cubicle. Here's your little plant." I'm like, "Oh, welcome aboard." Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, boo, we good. So I sit down and they're like, "Here, they have a team of collectors." And I was the last one. And I only worked part-time. I worked Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. So they gave me my list of accounts. And I really, seriously, Shay, I thought it was a joke. They were like, "We've got $8 million. Y'all hear me? $8 million worth of sales on the books, not in the bank." And I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So I'm a believer. So it's short prayer kind of went like this. "Hey, God. Yes, D. How are you?" "You know what, God? Overall, I'm great. But I don't know how." This is back in the day. "I don't know how to collect $8 million. I need a clue on what I'm supposed to do." So I got quiet. And that's when I realized that, okay, I have an $8 million problem. How do I solve the problem? What's going to be the key? So out of that came problem solving, exceptional customer service, and then my secret sauce was gratitude. So in 60 days, I recovered $6 million while working part-time. So $8 million on the books, $6 million collected. Now, this is why this is so important, especially right now in the midst of companies closing. So this was a small company. We're talking 100 people or less. On October 24th to 5th, the CEO says, "Let's come downstairs and have a chat." Now, me as a part of the collections team, I'm thinking, "Oh, we about to get a bonus. We about to get
no.
No.
Bye-bye. We got our money."
Come downstairs, all of us. This was 100 people. Come downstairs. "Listen, I want to thank everybody across all departments." So that's sales, contracts, order entry, fulfillment, invoicing, my lane, AR. "Thank you all for everything you've done. We've made an executive decision and we're closing the company. You got 30 minutes. Go get your stuff. Leave the building 2 months before Christmas." So after I pick myself up off the floor and have a good cry because I'm mad, I'm like,
right. Like, I just got all your money back for you.
Well, I mean, but not just me and my team. But this happened. So after recovering from that, I always ask the question then, as I do now, what happened? How did the CFO, how did the comptroller, how did the collections manager, how did the sales manager let all those sales come through, and nobody noticed that they were 30, 60, 90 days past due, and nobody's checking on that? And from that came years later, me talking about collect the cash and me talking about the journey of you as a business owner, how it is so important for you to track what's going on with your accounts, to notice when the account goes from 0 to 30, when it's on the 31st day, you can't wait for it to go to 60. You need to be on the phone. If you're not on the phone, who's going to be on the phone to assist you in making those calls? And so collected cash is about what happens when you neglect your accounts. Number 2, how do you switch that up so that you don't neglect it? How do you change the whole perception of collections? Because it isn't always aggressive. Collections, the myth around collections, that collections is always aggressive. It's always assertive, and it's always, I got to get my money. Yes, you have to get your money, but how do you do it? If you do it with problem solving, customer service, and the secret sauce of gratitude, changes the game. And what it does is it sets you apart. And so it's the journey of that. And then it's also for the entrepreneurs who have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, "I don't understand collections." I know, but if you learn it, if you set up your tracker, like I talked about earlier, you'll learn how many sales do you have and how much money is coming in. And then the thing is, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because it's one of the ways I'll get to leave my legacy is to talk about collections from the business to business perspective.
That's so dope. That's my favorite word lately. I've been using that all the time. But I just think it's amazing because people don't really take the time to, even from the person that may owe the money, right? Because I'm sure that you've spoken with so many people that actually owe the money and they have the "what had happened was" type of story, right? To avoid the person that's receiving product, before they get to the "what had happened was," what advice would you give to that person, that not just, from the collection standpoint, but from their standpoint, because the what had happened, especially in this era of COVID, is happening.
Right. The what had happened. So what had happened was, and actually that's another story. I'm gonna have to tell that one. But so what I would tell you about the what had happened was, is number 1, everybody has one of those what had happened was stories in business. What I think is that most people avoid what had happened was because they're embarrassed.
Mhm.
And I just feel like as the CEO of your company, whether you're the CEO of it's just you or you have a team, somebody has to take responsibility for when things go wrong. And I think for some reason people think, oh, we're just going to ignore it. It's like, no, you have to do like the Wizard of Oz. You got to do like Dorothy. Girlfriend pulled the curtain back and said, oh, this is what's going on. Okay, we expose it. Yes, it's a little messy. Yes, sometimes you have to get into the weeds to untangle what had happened was, but then once you untangle it and you fix it, you do what I call course correct. And so you cannot be afraid. You cannot be afraid to address the issues. And as a CEO, you're the chief executive officer. You're responsible for making sure that things go right. And if you don't, then underneath you is somebody or somebody's who are making sure of that, because it's your reputation. And these in the midst of COVID, and as I like to say, in these internet streets, it takes 30 seconds for somebody to get on the phone. Hi, I'm getting ready to do a live, and I'm about to blast you to smithereens. Your whole reputation that you built for eons, done.
Yeah, because people remember the bad.
Say it again.
People absolutely remember the bad. They remember the bad customer service. Like, I'm sorry, there's not one time that I've been to Chick-fil-A, which I love Chick-fil-A, by the way. So anybody wants to send me a gift card to Chick-fil-A, you can. But they pride themselves. It's a sense of pride. And you're going to wait. And I remember waiting in line, like no joke, 20 minutes for fast food. It was so good. But their customer service, and then the fact that they're always thinking outside of the box, they're always trying to come up with new ways. So they came up with the 2 lanes. Then they came up with, people coming to your car, even if your lane, you're all the way back. So that customer service really does go a long way. And then I also want to speak to the person that is considering, they know they want to build a company. They may be at the startup right now, but long term, that company is going to be bigger than what they can even imagine. You've left some really great tips on the table, and like I said, I've done invoicing, I've done the whole payroll. I personally understand everything that you're talking about, but really what it's saying is know where your money is, have documentation for every single thing, keep track of it. And it's as simple as opening up a spreadsheet.
And there's another piece to that too, because since we're talking about for the person, as I like to say, the person in the back who's thinking about
what? The person in the back, what?
The person in the back, people in the back.
Right.
These are my people, the people in the back. So if you're thinking about starting a business, let me say this as nicely as I can. Please set it up legally. And what that means is this. You need to have articles of organization. That means basically setting up at a minimum an LLC, which is limited liability company. That would be number 1. Number 2, please get an employer identification number, which is basically, it's also known as an EIN, which is basically the social security number for your business, like you have a social security number for yourself.
So you went, because I'm sorry to cut you off really quick. I know that a lot of people use especially in the beginning, they use their social. Why that difference? Because I want, if you know that difference, why that difference?
I tell you, I implore you to start your business legally and to keep your business expenses, your personal. When you commingle things, you eventually may be dealing with the IRS, and you'll have to explain why are all these expenses that you're saying are business under your personal social security number, and you can't explain that. So I'm strongly suggesting that even if you're the business of just one person, you get the articles of organization. That's a limited liability company. It's LLC. You file that with whatever state you live in. You file that with them. Number 2, your employer identification number. Basically, it's a free number from the IRS. You go to irs.gov and look up EIN, and you get this number, and it's basically the social security number for your business.
For your business, makes sense.
Business, so that so you can establish business credit and everything. And the last thing I would recommend is, I understand y'all love PayPal and Stripe.
PayPal.
Got that. Please go establish a business checking account. The reason I'm talking about this is because even as you're getting started. It is so much easier to start things off the right way in the beginning versus you get started with your personal stuff and you're like commingling everything, and then you have to try to explain to your accountant, well, I was using this and I've commingled that, and it's a hot mess. So if you learn, that's kind of like the tracker. If you learn to set up correctly. So again, articles of organization, basically it's a limited liability company. It's a document you form with the name of your company that says you're doing business as, like, my company is BCS Solutions. So there's me, Dee Bowden, and then there's BCS Solutions. BCS Solutions has its own EIN number. It has its own business checking account, just like I have my own personal social security number, my own personal checking account. You learn to keep them separate. Number one, because you don't want to start commingling funds. Number one, how do you track? How do you know what was business, what's personal?
Right.
One. Number two, when you have to put all your information together to give it to your accountant, and he or she starts asking you all these questions, because here's the thing: if you have an accountant, they're going to ask you about your expenses, because they want to know, what did you spend this money on, and you have to be able to explain that. Because here's what they won't tell you is that, what they should tell you, is the reason they want you to document what had happened was with your money is, in the event that the IRS ever does an audit on your taxes, you're going to have to go in and explain, why did you spend all this money and you have no receipts for it? You can't prove this. And you can't, if you don't document it as the business versus personal, the IRS is like, this doesn't look good to me. And you're going to have to come in and answer questions. But if you learn to set it up correctly from the beginning, even if you do get called in, you can substantiate all of those charges, and you say, nope, this is my business, and here's everything. This is personal. Here's everything. So
I also, I know a few business owners, and they have the articles of incorporation, but they have it under their social. They've had it under there, and that's how it's been working. But they have a separate checking account, like different things separated, right? Because we have these conversations. Should they go back now and still set up an EIN, or should they continue to do it how they have been doing it, filing taxes over year after year after year, because they're in year 2, 3, 4, but they've been using their social? I
would recommend this is, I can't say this as I can't give you legal advice.
Right. Advice. This is just what we would do.
I would, if it was me, I would want to get this set up legally as my own business. I would not want to keep operating operating my business under my social security number. I would want to have it separated. I would want to have the name of the business have its own EIN number and its own business checking account, and not keep commingling the funds.
Because I know a lot of people that actually get their businesses started, and then they may not make any money, any revenue. So that's why they're not doing the EIN, because the EIN makes you have to file taxes on it that following year. So it's like, I didn't do anything. I'm just kind of doing the back end, but I wanted to get the articles of incorporation so that way nobody else can take it.
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
But at that point, I would recommend, we're going to not give you the advice, but we would recommend that you actually seek a tax attorney or a tax consultant at that point. So we don't want to really give that out. But Dee, what are your closing thoughts? Because you've been amazing. I pray that your business just supersedes what you even thought it could be. As well. And if someone wants to actually get in contact with you, I want you to go ahead and leave your information as well. I know that we popped your website up there, which is Collect the Cash.
Collect the Cash.
Hard. .biz, not .org, not .com,
not .biz,
not .inc. .biz.
.biz. Yeah.
What other ways can people get in contact with you and get your services, or maybe sit up under you as a mentor, or grow your company and have other people? So how can they do that?
So first of all, before we get into that, thank you, Coach Jay, for this opportunity. This was actually amazing.
Trying to give me that special sauce, y'all. She thinks she's slick, but it's okay. You welcome, girl. I'll take it.
No, it's called good homeschool training. You how people by their title. So thank you for this opportunity. Number one. Number two, you can follow me on social media. Number one, go to the website www.collectthecash.biz. So it's www.collectthecash.biz. On the website, there's actually a link that says contact me. You can actually schedule an appointment for your business, and we can talk about what's the state of your accounts? Are you 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 days past due? And you can decide whether you want your accounts audited, whether you want to hire BCS Solutions to come in and actually collect on your behalf, or come in and train your team. Third, social media. I'm on Facebook as Dee Bowden, and LinkedIn. You can also find me on. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn under Dee Bowden. But you know what? You know what's also funny? I was sitting there. I forgot to. You know, we got to talking. And I didn't get talk about my friends. I got to bring in my friends.
Yes. We're gonna let you go ahead and bring your friends, and we got a few more minutes. Let's bring your friends.
So listen. As a part of my conversation, I talk to business owners about the state of their accounts, and I talk to you about how much money are you owed. So when I was talking about my friend, this is how it goes. So listen, you might be a small business owner and you may have this much in outstanding receivables, and you'll be like, okay, but here's the thing: in order for you to grow, you've got to be faithful over what's small. You got to manage this. That's where the tracking. This is where the tracking system came from, because I had to learn to be faithful over the small amounts. And then, y'all ready? You get to grow. You get to go to the next part. And then, listen, with this the millions of dollars, supersize, baby, supersize.
You got the clickety clacks, the clickety clack.
Yeah, you gotta supersize. But listen, you gotta be faithful in the beginning as a business owner. When you learn how to track your accounts and you're faithful over that one account, and you make sure everything goes correctly with that first account, then you go over and over and over again. What I think a lot of people forget in business is, number one, whether it's just you or you plan to scale, how you do everything in the beginning will show how you will grow further. The accolades and things say that again.
Discipline.
Absolutely. The accolades that you so kindly talked about today, those came from this. I had to start here. I had to be faithful over this first. The millions of dollars that I've collected, I didn't just start out collecting those. I collected $5 and $10 and $50 and $100 and grew over time. And I learned the discipline and the focus and the things that you're needed. Like figured out, got to solve a problem. I got to do customer service. And I figured out that gratitude, saying thank you, was it. Then I started seeing the results over and over and over again. And I just kept seeing this happen. I kept seeing God bless it. And I'm like, okay, I'm on to something. And some people will joke with me about, what are these? I'm like, these are my friends.
Yes. It's been so great having you on here again. I wish you nothing but success. I'm so blessed to know you. I'm not going to say have known, because we're still here. Thank the Lord.
Absolutely.
We're still here. And get in contact with her. Absolutely. I think that you definitely can take a business, even in just, like I said, training their staff so that they don't end up with the situation. They can get to that gratitude section, and they can get, while they're still within the 0 to 30-day invoicing period. So again, only because I know about it a little bit.
Yes.
I get it. It's been such a pleasure having you on. We wish you nothing but success.
Likewise.
To the viewers, join us again next week on Unscripted. Bye.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh.